Your cells are running out of power, not because you are lazy or because you have stopped trying, but because there is a system inside every mitochondrion in your body called the electron transport chain, and after age 50, it starts shutting down piece by piece. You feel it as the afternoon that hits a wall and will not move. It is the sleep that lasts 8 hours and restores nothing. It is the workout that leaves you feeling worse the next day instead of better. It is the brain fog at 2 corners in the afternoon that no amount of coffee fixes for long. Scientists at the Mayo Clinic tracked 146 healthy adults aged 18 to 89 and found that mitochondrial ATP production, the raw cellular energy output, declines continuously and measurably with every decade of age. This is not a theory, it is a measurement. The Shaolin monks at Songshan Mountain in Henan, China, have trained 6 to 7 hours daily on a plant-based diet for over 1,500 years. The average age of senior monks performing this training is in their late 60s, with some into their 70s and 80s. They use no energy drinks, no pre-workout, and no stimulants. What they had every morning before dawn training was a specific black grain they called Hei Bao Shai, the black treasure. Before anything else, go get a tablespoon of black rice if you have any in the house. Hold it in your palm and close your hand gently. Open your hand. If your palm shows a deep purple or near black stain, the grain is intact. If your hand is clean, the medicinal layer has already been removed before it reached you. That is your baseline. Write down what you see. Now consider the number that makes no sense until you understand the mechanism. Black rice contains more anthocyanins than blueberries, red wine, and blackberries combined. It has 6 times more antioxidant activity than brown or white rice. Cornell University measured this directly in 2010 across 12 rice varieties. The compound responsible, cyanidin-3-O-glucoside, the dominant anthocyanin in whole grain black rice, does not just neutralize free radicals. It does something that no other commonly available food does at this concentration. It directly interacts with mitochondrial complex 1, the first and most critical component of the electron transport chain, to increase ATP synthesis. The monks have been eating this since 495 AD. The Lithuanian University of Health Sciences confirmed in the Feb's journal in 2015 why it works. Electron transport chain degradation is the villain here, and most men over 50 have never heard this term, even though they feel its effects every day. Here is the mechanism in plain terms. Your mitochondria produce energy through a chain of protein complexes, complex 1, 2, 3, and 4, that pass electrons down the chain like a relay, using that transfer to pump hydrogen ions and ultimately generate ATP. After 50, these complexes, especially complex 1, begin to degrade. The chain leaks electrons. Instead of being channeled into ATP production, those electrons react with oxygen to form reactive oxygen species, causing cellular damage that accelerates the degradation of the complexes themselves in a vicious cycle. Less ATP leads to more damage, which leads to even less ATP. Think of your electron transport chain like a watermill. When the millstone and gears are intact, the water's force turns into usable power, flour, energy, and work. When the gears start cracking, the water still flows, but most of its force is lost to friction and heat rather than useful output. Cyanidin-3-O-glucoside from intact black rice acts as what researchers call an electron acceptor at complex 1. It slots into the degraded machinery and helps complete the relay that the damaged complex can no longer complete on its own. More electrons reach the end of the chain, and more ATP gets produced. A 2025 study in Frontiers in Immunology confirmed this in aged subjects specifically. Black rice extract improves skeletal muscle metabolism through mitochondrial pathways, not through stimulation, and not through blocking adenosine like caffeine does, but through restoring the actual output of the biological machinery. The reason this matters more than caffeine, more than pre-workout, or more than adaptogens is that those approaches mask the problem. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors. Your body responds by producing more adenosine receptors. You need more caffeine to achieve the same effect. The crashes deepen and sleep worsens. The baseline energy drops while the stimulant dose climbs. The man consuming 6 energy drinks today has less baseline energy than someone consuming none because the receptor upregulation has made his natural adenosine signaling more suppressive than it was before he started. Black rice does not block adenosine. It does not borrow energy from tomorrow. It supports the machinery that produces energy today. If you have tried every supplement on the market and still hit that 2 wall, you are not lacking discipline. You have been sold tools that address the symptom while the underlying mechanism continues degrading. That is not your failure. That is the wrong product applied to the right problem. Here is what the monk's morning protocol actually looks like. Before the 5 a.m. training session begins, before any physical practice, the monks eat congee or rice porridge. Specifically, congee made from black rice prepared the night before through a soaking process that takes 8 hours, then cooked low and slow for up to 2 hours in the morning. The 8 treasure congee of the Shaolin tradition combines black rice with red beans, lotus seeds, goji berries, Chinese red dates, black sesame seeds, and walnuts. Each component was selected empirically over centuries. We now understand some of the biochemistry behind why each one was included. The first nutritional element, and the one that determines whether the whole system works, is the black rice itself prepared correctly. Not just the grain, but the preparation. Most black rice on the market has already lost its active compound before it reaches your kitchen. This is the specific damage, the milling process that makes black rice cook faster, that produces the quick cook pouches in the pre-processed versions, strips the bran layer where the anthocyanins are concentrated. A 2024 study confirmed that even 4% milling reduces anthocyanin content by 50 to 90%. The package says black rice, but the compound that produces the measurable result is mostly or entirely gone. The grain you need looks specific: whole grain black rice, unprocessed, and labeled as such. The color should be deep black or near black with a faint blue or purple tint. If it looks dark brown or gray, it has been processed. The soaking water after 8 hours should turn unmistakably deep purple. If the water is pale or pink, the bran layer was compromised before you bought it. The rice costs $4 to $8 per kilogram and is not hard to find. It just needs to be the right form. The wrong forms, quick-cooked black rice, microwavable pouches, or pre-cooked packets, are all stripped. White rice is literally black rice with the medicinal layer removed. That is the actual production process. You are looking at the same grain at 2 different stages of processing. Now for the dose and the preparation, use 3 tablespoons of raw whole grain black rice. That is the dose validated in the clinical research. Not 2, not 4, and not a full half cup. Use 3 tablespoons measured before soaking. Put them in a bowl of cold water the night before for a minimum of 8 hours. The bran layer on intact black rice is dense. Without soaking, the anthocyanins do not release properly during cooking. You would have made purple porridge, but you would not have made the protocol. After 8 hours, drain the soaking water, which will be dark purple, confirming the bran layer was intact, and add the rice to 2 and 1/2 cups of fresh cold water in a ceramic pot, not stainless steel. Ceramic distributes heat more evenly at low temperatures, and consistent low heat is what allows the anthocyanins to remain stable during cooking. Above a certain temperature, anthocyanins begin to degrade. Bring to a low boil, then immediately reduce to the slowest simmer your stove can hold. What you notice in days 1 through 7 with the black rice alone, before anything else changes, is that hunger stays flat longer than you are used to. The grain contains beta-glucan fiber that slows gastric emptying and produces a controlled, sustained glucose release rather than a spike and crash pattern. Most men report going 4 to 5 hours without needing anything else after the congee. Think about your current breakfast. How many hours before you hit the first energy drop? If it is under 2 hours, your current breakfast is spiking your blood sugar and crashing it. That 4 to 5 hour window is the first signal the mechanism is working. That is the first element. But black rice alone delivers only part of the active compound to the tissue where it is needed. The second element determines whether the anthocyanins you just ate actually reach your mitochondria. Here is the biochemical limit of the grain alone. Anthocyanins are relatively large molecules. Their absorption in the gut depends on the integrity of the gut microbiome, specifically microbiome diversity, and the presence of specific bacterial enzymes that convert anthocyanins into their absorbable forms. After 50, gut permeability increases and microbiome diversity decreases. Without intervention, a significant portion of the cyanidin 3-O-glucoside you consume passes through without being converted and absorbed. The second element is fresh ginger. 3 thin slices, coin thickness, added to the pot when the rice reaches a low boil. Not powdered ginger, not dried ginger, but fresh ginger root sliced thin and added while the heat is still active. The active compound in fresh ginger is gingerol. The gingerol compounds in fresh ginger specifically enhance anthocyanin absorption in the gut wall. It is an active biochemical interaction, not just flavor or tradition. The gingerol upregulates the transport mechanisms that move anthocyanins across the intestinal epithelium. Without it, the absorption rate drops substantially. Dried ginger powder has significantly degraded gingerol activity. The drying process converts gingerol to chagal, a related but less bioavailable compound that does not produce the same absorption enhancement. This is the step most people skip because it seems minor. It is not minor. It is the difference between delivering the active compound to the tissue or passing it through. You can slice 3 pieces of fresh ginger the night before, store them covered in the refrigerator, and add them to the pot in the morning directly from the fridge. The cold does not affect the gingerol activity. The important thing is that it is fresh. What you notice when the ginger is included compared to the rice alone is that the sustained energy window extends. Most men report the difference between 3 and 2 hours of sustained energy and 5 or more hours. That gap is absorption. The grain produced the compound and the ginger delivered it. What the monks ate was not accidental. Each element of the 8 treasure kanji was selected by a tradition sophisticated enough to observe the difference between the protocol with each component and without it over multiple generations of monks. They did not know the word gingerol, but they knew that the preparation that included fresh ginger produced a monk who could train longer and recover faster than the preparation that did not. Stop for a moment. I want to tell you about a man named Dennis Holt. Dennis was 58 years old, a sales manager from Dallas. He had been running on energy drinks since his early 40s. He started with 1 a day. By 55, he was at 4. By 57, he was at 6. His cardiologist found QT prolongation, an electrical abnormality in the heart rhythm associated with stimulant overuse, at a routine checkup. His resting heart rate was 91. His blood pressure was 138/88. He was not sleeping more than 5 hours a night despite being in bed for 8. His body had upregulated adenosine receptors so aggressively that without the caffeine, he felt worse than he had felt before he ever started. His baseline energy, the floor he stood on without stimulants, was lower than it had ever been in his adult life. He had spent 16 years and approximately $1,400 on energy drinks that progressively made the underlying problem worse while masking the symptom. Dennis's electron transport chain was degrading on the same schedule as everyone else his age. The energy drinks never touched that process. They borrowed alertness from his adenosine system, a system that compensated by building more receptors while the actual mitochondrial decline continued uninterrupted. The monks at Shaolin do not chase alertness. They build the infrastructure that produces it. A bowl of black rice congee with fresh ginger eaten before training does not produce a spike or a crash. It supports the machinery that generates energy from the inside, and that effect compounds over weeks and months rather than degrading. That is the difference between the man who crashes at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and the monk who trains until 5 or 9 in the evening. It is not willpower, it is mitochondrial infrastructure. Everything I have walked you through, the grain form, the soaking protocol, the preparation temperature, the ginger, is one chapter of a larger system called the Western Monk Protocol. It is a 124-page guide that covers the complete system, including 12 additional monastic food practices, the specific meal timing system that the Shaolin monks follow, movement practices, the sleep protocol, and a 90-day complete energy transformation protocol. It includes the full 8 treasure kanji recipe with sourcing guidance, shopping lists, and a printable tracker. It is a PDF you can download instantly to your phone, tablet, or computer. If you are watching this on your TV, there is a QR code on screen to scan. If you are on your phone or computer, The link is in the description below. Now the third element, which determines whether the first two produce a floor or just a temporary improvement. The first element, black rice correctly prepared, delivers the mitochondrial substrate. The second, fresh ginger, gets it absorbed. But the cellular environment in which the anthocyanins arrive determines how effectively they can interact with the electron transport chain complexes. The third element is the red dates in Mandarin Hongzhou. You will find them in Asian grocery stores, sometimes labeled jujube dates. They are small, wrinkled, and deep red. Add 5 dried red dates to the pot in the final 15 minutes of cooking. Here is the specific biochemical role. The electron transport chain requires cofactor minerals to function at every complex, iron at complex 2 and 3, and zinc at several enzymatic steps. These are not optional. Without adequate iron and zinc, the chain cannot complete electron transfer efficiently, regardless of how many anthocyanins are present. The red dates provide bioavailable iron and zinc in a form that does not compete with the anthocyanin absorption window, unlike iron supplements which can bind to plant compounds and reduce bioavailability. The monks were not nutritionists, but they assembled a protocol over generations of observation that hit the correct biochemical sequence. Anthocyanins for the chain, gingerol to absorb them, and iron and zinc to allow the chain to use them. The wrong form of red dates includes sweetened jujube candy, dried jujube and sugar syrup, or jujube extract supplements. You want the whole dried fruit, dark red, slightly wrinkled with the pit intact. Add 5 to the pot in the final 15 minutes. They soften and their compounds release into the broth without losing bioavailability. Now the complete system. Write this down. The night before, measure 3 TBSP of whole grain black rice. Place in a bowl with cold water covering by at least 2 inches. Leave for 8 hours minimum. Slice 3 coin-thin pieces of fresh ginger root and refrigerate them covered. In the morning, drain the soaking water. Add the rice to 2 and 1/2 cups of fresh cold water in a ceramic pot. Bring to a low boil. Add the 3 ginger slices. Reduce immediately to the lowest simmer your stove allows. Cook for 45 minutes uncovered without stirring constantly. In the final 15 minutes, add 5 whole dried red dates. At 45 minutes, the congee should be thick and unmistakably dark purple, almost plum-colored. That color is the anthocyanins. If it is pale purple or gray, the grain was processed. No salt, no sugar, and no honey for the first 4 weeks. Sugar creates the oxidative environment that the anthocyanins are designed to suppress. Adding it defeats the mechanism. Eat the congee warm, slowly, as your first food of the morning. Eat nothing alongside it for at least 30 minutes. Toast, juice, cereal, or protein bars eaten simultaneously spike blood glucose and create the exact cellular environment the anthocyanins are trying to clean up. You end up fighting yourself. Eat to 70 to 80% fullness, not stuffed. The Shaolin monks follow this principle with every meal. Eat until satisfied, not until full. The congee is dense and filling. 3 TBSP of dry black rice becomes a substantial bowl. The total monthly cost of this protocol is approximately $15 to $20 for the rice, ginger, and dates at a frequency of 3 to 4 mornings per week. Compare that to the $50 to $100 per month most men spend on energy drinks or pre-workouts that address the symptom while the underlying mechanism continues degrading. For the first 2 weeks, Tier 1, eat the simplified version 3 mornings per week. Just the black rice soaked and cooked. No ginger or dates yet. On those mornings, eliminate all other caffeine. Track your energy level at 2 in the afternoon on congee days versus non-congee days. This is your personal controlled experiment. The difference will be observable within the first week for most men. For weeks 3 and 4, Tier 2, move to the full protocol 5 to 6 mornings per week. Add the ginger and the red dates. Begin the process of reducing caffeine on non-congee days. Remove energy drinks entirely if you have been using them. The withdrawal from habitual caffeine peaks at 20 to 51 hours, and the worst of it passes within 7 to 12 days. The congee is what you replace the stimulant with, not water or willpower, but a functional food that supports the actual mechanism. 3 problems come up consistently. Problem 1, Digestive adjustment in the first week. Black rice is significantly higher in fiber than any grain most men are eating regularly. The bran layer that makes it medicinally active is also the part that requires your gut bacteria to adapt. Bloating, mild gas, or loose stools in the first 5 to 7 days is normal and will resolve. If the adjustment is uncomfortable, start with a 50-50 blend of black rice and white rice in the first 2 weeks, then transition to full black rice in week 3. Extend the soaking time to 10 to 12 hours. Longer soaking pre-softens the bran and reduces the digestive load. Cook longer, 2 hours instead of 45 minutes, for the transition period. Problem 2, taste adaptation. The congee has an earthy, slightly nutty flavor with no sweetness. Some men find this adjustment difficult in the first week. The preference shifts within 2 to 3 weeks as the palate adjusts, but if the first week is a barrier, add a small pinch of cinnamon, a quarter teaspoon, to the cooking water. Cinnamon does not disrupt the anthocyanin mechanism and provides enough sweetness signal to ease the transition. Do not add honey or sugar. Do not add milk, which can bind to anthocyanins and reduce their absorption. Problem 3, sourcing the wrong grain. This is the most common problem and the one that causes men to report no effect after 2 weeks. Check the soaking water. After 8 hours, the water should be unmistakably dark purple. If the water is barely colored, the grain has been processed. Lotus foods. Forbidden rice is widely available in the U.S. and consistently passes the soaking water test. Look for it at Whole Foods, Sprouts, or on Amazon. The label should say whole grain black rice or forbidden rice, nothing that says quick cook or pre-cooked. Now the honest timeline. Week 1, hunger stability. Most men notice this before they notice anything else. The 4 to 5 hour satiation window after the congee versus the under 2-hour window after a conventional breakfast. That shift in hunger timing is the first signal that blood sugar is stabilizing. Weeks 2 and 3, sleep quality. The electron transport chain regulation extends to cellular repair at night. The mitochondria in your brain and muscle tissue do their maintenance work during sleep, and when ATP production is more efficient, that maintenance runs more completely. Some men notice improved sleep quality before they notice improved daytime energy. The sleep feels more complete. Recovery from physical effort improves consistently. After your second grocery run, roughly day 14 to 21, redo the palm test. Hold a tablespoon of your rice and squeeze. Compare the stains to your baseline. If you source the correct grain, the results should be consistent. This is your ongoing quality check. Month 1, the afternoon wall. The University of Reading clinical trial showed measurable inflammation reductions in 8 days at 210 grams of black rice, approximately the amount in 3 to 4 tablespoons of cooked congee per serving. At 4 weeks on the full protocol, the pattern that most men report is not a lift, but a floor, a baseline energy level that does not drop in the afternoon rather than a stimulant peak. That is mitochondrial support doing its work, a floor that stops moving. Day 60 to 90. This is where the cumulative effect becomes structural. The anthocyanins from black rice also activate PGC1 alpha, TFAM, and NRF2, the master regulators of mitochondrial biogenesis. These are the proteins that signal the body to produce new mitochondria. That process takes weeks to months. The 2019 Systematic Review and Nutrition Journal confirmed this mechanism in anthocyanins specifically. You are not just supporting existing mitochondria. Over 90 days, you are adding to the infrastructure. Be honest with yourself about what changes in week 1 and what changes in month 3. The energy floor shifts quickly. The structural mitochondrial biogenesis takes 60 to 90 days. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. Here is the system in plain language. The night before, you soak 3 tablespoons of whole grain black rice in cold water. In the morning, you cook it low and slow in a ceramic pot with 3 slices of fresh ginger and 5 red dates added in the final 15 minutes. You eat it warm, alone, before anything else. You do this 5 to 6 mornings per week by week 3. The cost is under $20 per month. The mechanism is your mitochondria receiving the specific compound they need to complete the electron relay that age has been degrading. Tonight, soak 3 tablespoons of whole grain black rice. That is the single action that starts everything. Tomorrow morning, cook it, eat it. Track your 2 hours energy level. Write it down next to your baseline. One warning, and this is specific. If you are taking blood thinners or anticoagulant medication, check with your physician before starting this protocol. Black rice is high in vitamin K, which interacts with warfarin and similar medications. This is not common enough to be a general caution, but it is specific enough to be a real one for the men it applies to. The Shaolin monks at Songshan did not discover this grain by accident. They observed over 1,500 years and hundreds of generations of monks that the training that followed this specific breakfast was different from the training that followed anything else. The energy held longer. The recovery was faster. The aging monks retained more capacity than monks at comparable ages who ate differently. They called it the black treasure. Modern science has now measured why. Your electron transport chain needs this compound. It has been waiting for it. If this story changed how you think about energy and food after 50, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. We are uncovering the biological history that has been overlooked for far too long. Start planting the seeds for your future health today. Our next deep dive into ancient longevity secrets will be opening soon.